Hello, I am Deacon Peter. I'll be discussing two terms we all know well this morning. Or do we? The terms are forgiveness and justice. These two terms are very different. I've heard many people ask, how can I forgive that injustice? This is often a difficult question to answer. A good way to start is to determine what justice really is. In my mind, there are two types of justice. The first type is proactive. The second type is reactive. Proactive justice is how we treat people. Jesus calls us to treat people with mercy, with honor, and with respect. Jesus summarizes this call by commanding us to love our neighbors as ourselves. Jesus goes further in Matthew, where he says, it is not good enough that we love our neighbors, but we must love our enemies as well. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. Love is action, doing good for others, and giving them justice. As Christians, we are called to strive for proactive justice in all we do. This includes not only our behaviors, but also the behaviors of our institutions and laws. We should expect our governments to treat people justly. So should our laws and institutions. In his Sermon on the Mount, Jesus taught the disciples the way they should live. Most of his exhortations hinged on the listeners acting justly. He set the tone with the Beatitudes. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are the merciful, for they'll be shown mercy. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. As Christians, creating a just world is an important pillar of our mission. It is likely true that if all those around us were just and our institutions and systems were just, forgiveness would be much easier. Finally, in a proactively just world, all people benefit. Reactive justice is much different. Reactive justice often results in punishment, such as fines or prison. The concept of an eye for an eye is a form of reactive justice. Many past and current wars are fought for reactive forms of justice. Wars have occurred because a country has crossed over our borders, or fired on our ships, or infected our software, or because some countries don't believe in the same form of government we believe in, or they don't believe in the same form of religion, or we don't like the way they look. I cannot think of any gospel scriptures where we find Jesus calling for reactive justice. This form of justice rarely leads to forgiveness. Now let's talk about forgiveness. The gospel is full of lessons about forgiveness. Forgiveness coupled with love is the core of our message from Jesus. One of my favorite stories in the gospel is found in Matthew, where Peter asked Jesus, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? As many as 7 times? And Jesus says, I do not say to you 7 times, but 70 times 7 times. Jesus came to die for us so we would be forgiven and receive salvation. He came here in human form so we could see him and so he could witness to us the kingdom of God. And for Jesus, that kingdom is based on forgiveness. In his final day, as Jesus was hanging on the cross, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. On this last day, Jesus received no mercy. He received no honor and no respect. The only justice he received was reactive. And yet Jesus forgave all of them and all of us. Forgiveness benefits both parties. The side doing the forgiving and the side being forgiven. Forgiveness is always a win-win solution. We do not have to forgive the unjust act, but Jesus calls us to forgive the person. The gift the forgiver receives is freedom from a burden they do not need to carry. Jesus carried that burden for all of us. When he died, that burden was lifted from him, and we receive salvation at the same time. So back to my original question, how can we forgive injustice? I don't know that we can or should. In fact, our baptismal covenant calls us to strive for justice and peace among all people. But we can forgive the person, just as Jesus has forgiven us. And our life will be better for it. Thank you.